Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and I want to talk about Matthew Perry. So Matthew Perry is Chandler Bing from Friends, and he just died. He was 54 years old. He was exactly 1 year older than me, right? And he died, and that's very sad. But I want to talk about his death from the perspective of Dungeons and Dragons, right? So, what does Matthew Perry teach us about Dungeons and Dragons? And I want to talk about it through the character, actually through Matthew Perry himself, right? Yeah, I was going to switch it to Chandler Bing, but I don't think we need to go there. So, get this. Who came out of... So, what is Friends? Friends is a huge, massive cultural force of nature. If you don't know, Friends is one of about 5 shows that are on the planet Earth that get resold every 3 to 4 years to a new streaming service who pays $250 million. Actually, not $250 million. You can't get Friends for $250 million anymore. I don't think you can even get it for $500 million anymore. You buy the streaming rights for 3 or 4 years for your service for $750 to $1.5 billion, right? That's astounding. That is like, those numbers are unheard of on the small screen. Those are the biggest numbers on the small screen, right? You can get those numbers on the big screen. You can get a $3 billion movie on the big screen. We scraped the bottom of $3 billion. But and nowadays, frankly, I'm not sure you can even get $1.5 billion. We haven't done it we haven't done it since the Great Pandemic. But Friends is huge. It is a cultural force of nature in America. And also, it's a cultural force of nature outside of America. If you don't know this, literally millions of people have learned to speak English using Friends, the television show. Since it's been converted, you can listen to them in English and have it read in subtitles in your own language. And you could literally learn English, and millions of people have, watching Friends. And it's the easiest way to do it because watching Friends is great. Now, why is watching Friends great? Jennifer Aniston and the answer is Jennifer Aniston. She is a megastar. She has billions of dollars have been attached to her name, and she was the real star of that show, right? Now, the reality is Matt LeBlanc was talented, right? And Phoebe Cates, the character, and I don't even remember her real name. Man, I can't remember her real name. She was very funny, unique, right? Courtney Cox, a real career, right? And actually had some real Hollywood, and had some genuine Hollywood moments, right? Like, she had a real career. Matthew Perry never did anything after Friends. Nothing of significance. He did this really sad show where he went and sat for therapy. It sucked. It was terrible, right? And I think he told everybody, like, Matthew Perry's done. Like, you saw everything was good in Friends. They ain't got nothing more, right? Like, so I want to talk about the Matthew Perry, right? Like, so the Matthew Perry in Friends was the worst actor in Friends and really brought the least to the table in Friends, right? But Friends was not Friends without him. And he was there in the moment when it was needed, and he did his job, right? And guess what? If you listen to his autobiography, he will tell you he did a few things that made doing his job a little difficult, right? So he got in his own way a lot, right? And what the thing is, he did the job when it was needed. He was there, and he added to the group, right? So what I want to do is I want to use Matthew Perry's death to celebrate the Matthew Perry at your table, okay? The reality is, when you sit down, you gather 4 or 5 people, right? You got a rock star at your table. You got somebody who's going to be the DM after you. You got somebody who is the best player who will ever sit at your table, and they are so smart and so charismatic and so confident that they will change your life with wisdom they bring through play, right? Just a stellar rock star player. You have the eminent dungeon master, right? And then you got the Matthew Perry, the guy who's just there. He's not that great a player, right? He doesn't really bring much to the table, right? He doesn't do much at the table. But the reality is he's very, very important. And the reason why is I actually don't need 4 people at the table. I can have a blast. I think I enjoy one-on-one Dungeons and Dragons the most, right? But the reality is most players don't. And most players want a filled table, right? It makes them feel confident that what's being done is popular and needed and important, all of which it is, right? But they don't get that if there's just one other person, right? And so some people feel safety in numbers, right? And if you're going to play real Dungeons and Dragons around the table, right, with the locals in your area, the Matthew Perry real Dungeons and Dragons, not fake nonsense scrub electronic like let's play on Roll20 crap. I'm talking real Dungeons and Dragons here, the one that matters, the one that Gary templated, the one that's real. Okay, not your electronic nonsense, right? Like we're talking real Dungeons and Dragons here. Anybody can sweep the nation and pull in, some rock, a bunch of rock stars from all over the country to play electronically. But it doesn't matter. It's just like video games. It's just chaff, right? There's chaff and there's wheat, right? It's the chaff, right? The real table game with real physical books, a real dungeon master, and 4 real players. That's the wheat, right? That's the gold, not the dross, right? So that's what I'm talking about here. In those games, in real Dungeons & Dragons, the Matthew Perry is invaluable. Invaluable. And the reason why is you don't need them as a dungeon master. You're smart enough to know that you could run with 2 people, 1 person, and it's fine, right? But the reality is other players need that person there to feel comfortable, right? To round the table out. And for that reason, the Matthew Perry is extremely good. I don't think Matthew Perry was that great in Friends. And I don't need to debate you that he wasn't. He never did anything of significance after Friends. Hey, you want to come at me? There's the comments. But I'm telling you right now, Friends was his legacy. And that's a huge legacy because Friends is a massive cultural success, right? So that's the point is like, I just want to take a minute and remember Matthew Perry. Matthew Perry, thank you for your work. I loved you in Friends. And I'm sad that you weren't able to do anything after Friends, but I have a lot of respect for your work. I think you're a tremendous American success, right? And you will not be forgotten because Friends will live forever, right? Well, actually, I think Friends will live for probably 2 or 3 more millenniums. There will be something that ends Friends. But we don't need to get that in this video. So that's the point, and I think it's really important, and I'm very excited, I'm very excited that we get a reminder that the Matthew Perrys at our table are infinitely valuable and are extremely good. You don't have to be the best player ever. You don't have to be an eminent dungeon master. It's very important that you show up and you show out, right? And you're just a player at the table. But in Dungeons & Dragons, it's extremely important. The Matthew Perry is important. The guy who's not the best player, right? Who's just there and is rolling dice and is adding to the narrative and is making people comfortable with the numbers. It's extremely important. Do not take for granted the Matthew Perry at your table, right? I've had Matthew Perrys at my table. You've had Matthew Perrys at your table. Take a moment this week to say thank you. Don't thank them for being a Matthew Perry because that will not be helpful. But thank them in a nice way. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion. Have you had a Matthew Perry at your table? Have you been the Matthew Perry at a table? I have never been the Matthew Perry at a table. I'm always the Jennifer Aniston. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. I can't wait to hear your humble opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider subscribing and have a wonderful millennium.